I'm so full of emotion to be part of this wonderful community. Thank you so much. His Excellency, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, GFCR, represented by Professor Mohammed, former Vice Chancellor, Abubakar Tabawa Balewa University. His Excellency, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, AUN founder and former Nigeria's Vice President. His Excellency, Ambassador James Entwistle, U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria. Mr. Akin Kekere, ECUN Chairman of American University Board of Trustees. His Excellency, the Governor-elect of Kano State, Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje. Our dear President, Dr. Margie Ensign, and her students, faculty, and staff, above all, our honored parents and families. I am honored and deeply moved to have been invited to be with all of you in Yola, in the 7th graduation ceremony in the American University of Nigeria, the first development university in the country. I come from Colombia. It's wonderful to see the South-South relationships. Colombia, South America, to share with you my life project. My collective life project, because I am the most visible person, but with me there have been many, many hundreds of persons accompanying me in this journey. My life project dedicated for more than 30 years to create opportunities of quality education to serve and enhance the life chances of underserved children in Colombia and in many other countries around the world. Initially, I graduated as a sociologist in Colombia, and my main interest was to reduce inequalities and drive social change. I taught sociology of education in several universities for some time and came to the conclusion that quality basic education was crucial. I then can be involved in distance education for teacher training in Colombia, in a major private university, and soon realized the huge gap between what teachers learned in schools of education and teachers' colleges and the reality of the remote, really isolated schools. Teachers in our universities in Colombia were receiving conferences on active learning and participatory learning, and they were instructed to use active methods with children. How could they make the change if they had not practiced these methods while being trained as teachers? Finding simpler ways to express the complex ideas of what constitutes a good education was a desperate need to really ignite social change. Everybody had the rhetoric, but not the concrete instruments to make it really happen. As a graduate student at Stanford University, I focused my learning at the classroom level and the micro level, after having been at the macro level. There I understood how changes in the way students interact among themselves and solve problems in the classroom and in the schools could have an impact on society, especially nurturing citizenship skills, attitudes, and peaceful behaviors. This is because of the intimate relationship between pedagogy and citizenship building. What John Dewey, the great American educator, said 90 years ago, I realized that cultivating the soft skills of human capital is essential to produce engaged, responsible citizens. Returning from Colombia, I continued my commitment to reduce inequality and work where there was the highest inequity in the educational system. The poorest, isolated rural schools of the country Most of them were multi-grade schools where one teacher or two have to handle all the grades. And these schools were invisible to educational planners, teachers, colleges, and funders. The word did not exist in the schools of education, despite the fact that there were 60% of the rural schools in Colombia. At that time, Colombia, like the rest of Latin America, did not offer complete primary education in rural areas, although it was a constitutional mandate. So I decided to make these schools and their teachers visible and embarked myself in this endeavor. The rationale for this decision is that education is the core task of development, that without quality of basic education, no social, economic, peace, or development could ever be achieved. In effect, the research of academic and development institutions, such as the Center for Universal Education at Brookings Institute and the World Bank, have found that it improves people's lives. It provides individuals with more economic opportunities. It empowers them to make informed decisions that impact their family's well-being. It equips them with skills to live secure and healthy lives. It generates conditions for progress in health and gender equity. It plays a key role in helping to tackle some of the world's most pressing challenges, such as climate change, food security, and peace building. The main report of the Conference on Education for All in 1990 in Thailand had concluded that basic education yields the most significant benefits for self-sufficiency, sustainable development, peace, and democracy. This is why I started to work in the poorest and isolated schools where the greatest inequalities existed. However, everything was challenging at these schools. High dropouts, repetition rates, no academic results, low self-esteem of children, low teacher morale, inefficient theoretical, expensive teacher training with no follow-up mechanisms, overloaded urban biased curriculums, weak school community parent relationships, conventional rote memory teacher-centered methods, and teachers in these schools did not have any specific training to handle several grades simultaneously. It was like a failed business, no results. Nevertheless, what started as a constraint became an opportunity, and this is the most beautiful part. You need chaos, you need constraints to innovate. What started as a constraint became an opportunity for challenging massively the conventional teacher-centered model we've known for ages. This was the starting point of this long journey, and we started thinking big, trying to impact the whole system. This transformative vision brought us to rethink and reinvent many things. The classroom and the curriculum interventions, the training of the teachers, the relationships with the parents and communities and with the administrators. It forced us to think systemically and beyond the classroom from the outset. Frequently, people are pessimistic about the possibility of making transformational changes in society. However, our experience is different. All of those committed to this Escuela Nueva, which means new school, life project, have been able to witness that it is possible to transform massively learning environments in thousands of schools and promote a pedagogical renewal for quality learning. We have done it and it can be done. So what is this Escuela Nueva that came out of this long-term effort? Escuela Nueva is a pedagogical approach, model, and methodology that transforms the conventional teacher-centered driven pedagogy to really child active participatory student-driven learning. It promotes self-paced learning. Not everybody learns the same thing at the same time. Flexible promotion mechanisms that permit students to finish academic units at their own pace. strong school community relationships, and a new role of the teacher as a facilitator. Emphasis on nurturing democratic participatory values and active citizenship through student governments and a new generation of self-paced, reusable learning guides that promote independent learning and cooperative work through dialogue and interaction. Let me take you through a mental journey in one school that uses the Escuela Nueva approach. In this school, children sit and work in small groups, in this case in a multi-grade setting, group by grade level. So all grades are taught in one classroom with one teacher. We have also done it in urban schools, in monograde settings, which is what everybody knows, one teacher per grade. So when you enter a school, you immediately see that it's a difference from a conventional school. You instantly shift your attention towards the students and what they're doing, not the teacher. Some are working on their assignments or discussing in groups. You hear the buzz and hum of work getting done and learning taking place. Each one seems to know exactly what he or she is doing and is focused. If you ask them what they're doing, they explain very eloquently and confidently. And most importantly, they explain to you how they are learning. To know they are learning through observation, reflection, working individually, then in groups. They receive feedback during the process from their teacher, share their work with others, and advance at their own pace. In this school, the teacher is doing the real role. She's a facilitator and a guide instead of a transmitter of instruction. This is the real new role of the teacher for the 21st century. This is an Escuela Nueva school, a type of school where students collaborate, participate, dialogue, interact, exchange, one that fosters self-paced and cooperative learning, and where learners develop social and emotional skills, now called the 21st century skills, such as learning to learn, learning to lead processes, learning to take initiatives, learning to plan, but especially learning to work in teams, in a spirit of collaborative problem solving. These are the characteristics to promote entrepreneurship and leadership. Children in these schools are organized in a student government and have committees where they learn to participate and have genuine responsibilities, just like I saw American University had the first evening I came. You have your school governments and committees, and you take leadership. This should also happen in primary education schools, in public schools. The student government promotes involvement and leadership of both girls and boys in equal footing. I once asked a boy what he thought about the fact that the president of the school government was a little girl. And he replied, "She's great, she's more organized." And he continued working. This suggested a cultural change in Colombia. In general, Escuela Nueva is an innovation to overcome poverty, reduce inequality, and promote sustainable development and peace building. I would add and challenge you for all this type of education in all your primary schools in Nigeria. Escuela Nueva for the internally displaced children. In Colombia, we have many displaced populations. So, since one of the tasks that this university is engaged, let me briefly share with you how we adapted the Escuela Nueva for internally displaced children in Colombia to the Escuela Nueva learning circles, which was a transition from out-of-school children to regular schooling. They are spaces where groups of around 15 students work with the aid of a youth tutor from the community who facilitates learning and provides love, more personalized attention, and they're ready to transition into the formal school. This personalized and socio-affective support restores and strengthens children's self-esteem and develops social and life skills as well as a joyful learning experience. I won't describe it in detail, but what I can say is that after 1 year of piloting it, all the children, displaced children, at the end, in language and math, were beyond the national mean of the country. This means recuperating human development and human dignity. So what is innovative about this way of learning? That's the way you learn in American university. Many of us have had this type of learning, especially those that have been exposed to good quality learning. But this is not the case of the low-income public schools of most developing countries. Not in Asia, not in Africa, not in Latin America. The ideas on which we built the model are not new. They're grounded on solid, modern educational theory. What is new is that we made it possible for thousands of low-income schools in more than 17 countries now, mainly through governments and international organizations. Managing to transform complexity into simple, manageable action so that any teacher, without having a PhD or a master's, could transform their learning environment, improve the classroom climate, and have results, not only in academic achievement, but in peaceful democratic behavior. It is simple, replicable, scalable, and cost-effective. In the Escuela Nueva school, the school adapts to the child and not the other way around. What do we see here? Flexibility, inclusion, empathy is the most important word for the future, empathy. It means making each learner a better person, having the academic and social skills to navigate through life and bringing life into the school. Bringing education to life requires finding cost-effective ways to provide learning for all. It means learning to become independent, free-thinking citizens, lifelong learners, capable of building secure and prosperous communities. Different evaluations administered by national and international organizations since 1980 have demonstrated that Escuela Nueva has improved significantly the results in rural and urban primary education, as well as self-esteem and peaceful behavior of children. And coming out of Colombia, especially important. Let me just give you two examples. The first study the UNESCO did in Latin America, Colombia was the only country where rural schools outperformed urban schools, except for the big megacities. And in math, only Cuba was above Colombia in this situation. And a study on democratic behavior and peaceful coexistence published by the University of London evidenced the superiority of Escuela Nueva over conventional schools in the formation of cooperative, democratic, peaceful social interactions of children. And similarly, USAID demonstrated results in Guatemala, where children learn to take initiatives, they take turns, they give more positive feedback and less negative feedback. These are indicators of democratic behavior. And how was that possible in the poorest remote schools of the country? Well, this is where the innovative part comes in. From the outset, the plan was to make that this social innovation could be feasible technically, politically, and financially, that it could impact national policy and great numbers. We demonstrated that it worked and started its dissemination bottom-up in an organic manner, from child to child, from teacher to teacher, from school to school, from community to community. The real actors of change were children, teachers, and communities themselves. We empowered them. We started as a local innovation, gradually became a national policy, reaching 20,000 schools in Colombia. Once the World Bank selected it as one of the 3 innovations that had successfully impacted the national policy, many countries came. More than 40 countries have come to visit us, and we started adapting it to many other countries. And just has sparked reforms as far as Vietnam, East Timor, and Zambia. It is a proven cost-effective solution that provides replicable and scalable solutions to the problem of quality education. However, leading change at large scale is not an easy task. As Jeff Mulgan, director of NISTA, National Endowment Science Foundation of the UK, in the UK says, in a recent document on social innovation, quoting Schopenhauer, on any new truth, first, it is ridiculed. Second, it is widely opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. Escuela Nueva passed through all these stages, As I stand here today in this solemn ceremony, I'm very proud to share with you that I have led a team of dedicated professionals over more than 30 years to deal with this challenge and move ideas forward. Defending Escuela Nueva's pedagogy, evidencing it works and has results, ensuring its quality and sustainability over time, innovating, adapting it to new populations, to displaced populations, migrant populations, ensuring it has an impact on national policies, and keeping it there in the national agenda has been my life project of more than 30 years. I have worked to develop, expand, and sustain this innovation from different organizational spheres. As co-author of Escuela Nueva with a wonderful Colombian teacher, Oscar Mogollon, who's no longer with us in this world, and Beryl Levinger, a former Peace Corps of the United States, we designed the Escuela Nueva model. I was the first national coordinator, Vice Minister of Education in Colombia, UNICEF's education advisor for the Latin American region, and now from Fundación Escuela Nueva, an NGO I had to set up to ensure the quality and sustainability of the model and to continue innovating. The establishment of this NGO was a way to continue protecting and enhancing the innovation, aware that innovations fade within bureaucracies. They're very vulnerable to political and administrative changes. I have learned you have to work with governments to have big impact, but you need public-private partnerships and the role of civil society for quality and sustainability. As I come to the end of this speech, I want to share with you two concluding remarks that may be of importance and relevance to all of you, dear graduates of the 7th graduation ceremony of this prestigious development university. As you start your professional careers in different fields. First, I want to leave with you 5 takeaways that derive from the experience of my life project of Escuela Nueva that are of absolute relevance for education, development, and peace today. First, yes, it is possible to improve quality basic education in the poorest poor schools of the world. Second, however, more of the same is not enough. Expanding current educational systems would not make a difference. We need a paradigm shift from an emphasis on transmission of information to collective and social construction of knowledge. Third, learning should go beyond cognitive achievement. Learning involves developing and practicing civic, social, and emotional skills. Learning to be, learning to know, learning to do, and learning to live together, as UNESCO has said. These are the basis for peace and democracy. Fourth, we need to think systemically if we want to lead large-scale reform. If we want to have changes with children, you have to have about changes with the teachers, with the parents, and the administrators. Technology triggers change, but a new pedagogy is indispensable for effective learning. Technologies change, but innovations in pedagogy bring a lasting benefit. The second aspect I want to share with you, to concluding remark, is some significant messages from a recent publication of WISE, of the World Innovation Summit on Education, an initiative of the Qatar Foundation, prepared by Charles Leadbeater in a book, Learning to Make a Difference, School as a Creative Community. He says, innovations come from the most marginal areas of society because you're forced to rethink everything. He says, education should equip young people to shape an uncertain future so that they can live more successful lives on their own terms and together. They need an education that prepares them to be collaborative agents of change rather than atomized victims of change, to respond to frustration with creativity and innovation. Some of the features of this type of education that Leadbeater suggests are the following. Interpret and explore ambiguous questions that do not have a clear-cut solution, but have many. Collaborate with others to come up with solutions which will require social and emotional skills as well as tangible capabilities to make a valuable contribution to the collaborative effort. Feel the excitement and possibility of power as well as the sense of responsibility that comes from being an agent of change. Acquire the traits of character, especially persistence, grit, and determination to overcome the many obstacles that would stand in your way. My dear graduates, the future will not be delivered to us, but made by us. Education and learning should equip all of us to play a part in this unfolding process of collaborative, creative exploration of possibility. So as you start your professional journey, keep always in mind the motto of Ashoka, the eminent organization created by Bill Drayton that promotes social entrepreneurship everywhere. Everybody can be a change maker. Gracias. That means thank you in Spanish.